Welcome everyone. It's another beautiful, bright day out here. Um, Today we continue discussing about sources of funding. You remember from the last video, we looked at several sources of funding, but there are two more that we need to look at. Very interesting ones. But first, before we dive into these two remaining sources, if you are new to this channel, please make sure to subscribe so that when I post new videos, you are alerted immediately and you can benefit from the tips that we share through these videos. Okay, right, let's go back to it. So the one source is government. Many governments across the world believe that the problem of unemployment can be partially, dealt with through job creation by micro and small enterprises. And because of that, many governments have deliberate programs that support, micro and small enterprises through training, through capacity building, and also through funding. They are direct funding government programs. The only challenge you and me would have is how do we know? This information is not readily available in the public domain, so we miss that opportunity. And so now that we are sharing this information, where do you go to get that information? Visit your local government office. You can also check your trade office. They will be sure to tell you what kind of government programs are in place. And the advantage with these government programs is that they don't only give you funding, they will train you, they will, sort of provide other auxiliary services compared to other, funders. And so it is very important that, you check out the government, the availability of government funding. Right, the other advantage with the government funding compared to the other sources that we have looked at is that it's a very cheap source of funding. Their interest will be extremely low compared to commercial banks, compared to microfinance institutions, even compared to SACCOs. And so this is why especially for startups, this might be a priority area to look into before looking at the other sources. Okay, so the government funding does not only have advantages, it also has disadvantages. So let's look at those as well so that you are well informed before you start going. One, of course, it can be a little political, and so for you to be able to access, you might have to be politically aligned, but that doesn't need to discourage you. I think it's still something that you can explore. So obviously it might in some cases be political, but in some cases it be available to everyone. What is the other disadvantage? The other disadvantage would be that there are so many people applying for this fund. So obviously, because they want to reach as many people as possible, the loan or the fund size will be very small. So depending on what business you are going to start, it might not really meet your needs. But again, if you are doing a very small business, it might be. So there are many applicants there. It's very competitive, and so you need to be prepared as you approach the government for that funding. So we have looked at the availability, we have looked at the advantages and the disadvantages. Now we need to look at where do we get the information? Okay, we already I already pointed out that you can get the information from your local government office. You can also check the trade office. But surely we are also living in the age of the internet. There is a lot of information out there. You just need a keyword. So if you Google government funding, you will also be able to get some information. All you need to get from there is who to contact or where to go and all that. So internet is also a very important source of searching for, what kind of government programs are in place and whether, you qualify, especially for the youth and women. For the youth and women, these are very popular, but that does not exclude, men, or the older men, so everyone can search for them. Right, so let's look at the second source of funding, which is twofold actually. We have donors and then we have independent investors. But first, let's talk about donors. Of course, it is true that over the years, donor funding has really significantly reduced, but that doesn't mean that they stopped completely supporting micro and small enterprises. There are still, friendly donors that support micro and small enterprises, especially women, especially the youth, especially people with disabilities. And normally the donors will not interface with communities. They will use existing institutions like banks. They will work with non-governmental organizations. They might work with, cooperatives. They might work with government. So again, you have to go in search of this information. Check with the non-governmental organizations close to you. Check with the banks close to you. Check also with your trade office. They will have this information, And then again, we are still in the age of the internet. What will we do without the internet? So make sure that you are Googling and finding out whether there are some donor programs that, support the kind of business that you want to go into. And again, this would be fairly cheaper compared to the other sources that we have looked at. You might also, access a little bit more funding than some of the other sources. So it is, donor supported funds is an interesting one, and I hope that you can be able to do a bit of search and find something. Okay. Right, so let's look at the last one, which is individual investors like yourself and myself, looking into or looking for potentially successful business ideas. They are looking not to be your bank, but they are looking to be your partner. So they are willing to buy some shares into your business. And they are mostly excited about technology-based businesses. They are excited about agriculture. They are doing agro-processing or, improving your production for export and things like that. So again, we are in these two areas, and then But where do we find information about this? You will not find this in government offices. You might not find this in, readily available. But they are mostly on social platforms like LinkedIn, like Instagram. You might find them on Facebook as well, and Googling them, you might find a list of things that are interested in these two areas that I've spoken about. And so that gives you more or less an exhaustive list of where you can get funding for your business. And in all this, you realize that the big challenge we all face is access to information, because information is power. Now without information, then we cannot be able to move. But here I am empowering you and giving you this tips so that you can be empowered to know where to go when you are ready to start, or if you are already in business and searching for expansion. And so that brings our discussion on funding to a close. And if you like my video, please remember to click like, subscribe as well, so that you are alerted when I post the next video. And thank you for watching, and best of luck.